The final stretch. Not really. It is for today, but we can pick up and carry on another time. Is this helpful so far? Great. I want you to be able to use the things that I've found useful. So I'm going to just show you a little clip, and it's called The Care and Keeping of You. And you might have seen the book up here, The Care and Keeping of You. And it looks like this. Okay, and it's for girls mostly. It reaches girls probably between the age of social emotionally 8 to 10, like that. So this person has created it, if it works, on YouTube. They're not waiting for us. And she's got her face covered, educating her peers. Some of them aren't waiting for us. They're finding ways to educate one another. It's kind of cool, isn't it? I couldn't believe it when I... Huh? Sorry?
She said that she does an example of how to use a tampon.
Mm-hmm.
How did she use models?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Good question. I don't know. Right? She probably uses pictures. Yeah, I don't think she'd use model. I think she'd use pictures. Very good. So that's The Care and Keeping of You by American Girl. There's a Fielding book. There's a Care and Keeping of You 2. And my goddaughter is 10. Since the age of 8, she's loved this book. And we have all kinds of neat chats. And I have her parents' permission, and it's great.
Hey, Carol.
Nope, we don't want to hear you again, sorry. Okay, so comic strips. These work on the go. We used them a lot when my children were young because we could just sketch things out with stick people, and that's a schedule. And just that comic strip, because you know how we were going to just go home after school, but then there were a bunch of other errands, and so I did the comic strips. When I picked them up, we could go through the comic strip. And of course with pencils, so we could, if they didn't want to go to the grocery store right away, then we'd put in something they liked. And then, or we'd go to a section in the grocery store they liked first, and then we'd go do what I wanted to do. But all visuals. They talk. But when I learned that visuals were important was my son, he could decode everything, but he didn't comprehend. And we decided he needed to make a relationship to comprehension if his world was going to work later. So we took, he would have been 4 or 5, we took all of the books out of the house that he could decode that didn't make sense to him, and we put board books in. Board books are the little books for children 1 and 2 years old. It says, see Jane jump, and Jane is jumping. And any book he could read, get his hands on, made the connection between the words and what was happening in the picture. And either my husband or I, when he picked up a book, which was often, would go right to him and force the relationship between comprehension and words. It was a lot of work. But he made that relationship. And then once he did that, we realized that if you gave him information, he didn't know where he was storing it in his brain. So he couldn't recall it. So then it was like, how do we deal with that? So the speech therapist was excellent. We found this book called Teach Me Language. You can write that down if you like. It's a great little book. And what happened is he loved animals, and so he could read about a zebra and recite back a whole page about a zebra after he read it once. But if you asked him, what does the zebra eat, he couldn't answer you. He couldn't answer any of the where, what, when, why, or how questions. So for a whole year, every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, when we did homework, one of us would follow him around under the tables and everywhere, and he would have to answer the who, what, when, where, and why question. He didn't say no, he just kept crawling away, and we would just follow him. And by the end of that year, because you see, he could tell you all about a lion, he could tell you all about a tiger. But if you asked him what the difference was between a lion and a tiger, he couldn't answer that question. No ability to compare. Looked like a genius. And when we finally sat down and went with a microscope, he didn't know opposites. He didn't know more, big, bigger, biggest. I couldn't believe what he didn't know. How did he miss it? And then the things they'll miss. I remember when he was 9. This is our 9th Halloween, and he's saying, put the pumpkin on the paper. Huh? We look at each other. And then he just started to get just so agitated. It took us like 3 or 4 hours. He didn't know the word carve. He wanted to carve a pumpkin, but he didn't know the word carve. So he kept saying, put the pumpkin on the paper. This is a highly verbal child. And I looked at my husband and said, how can he not know the word carve? He's been in the world for 9 years. Didn't have it. And then we're like, what else is he missing? Right? Because we thought he had that one. So those kind of gaps are a little bit surprising to us. No, we didn't miss anything. They just didn't pick it up at the time. And now we're finding out that it's a gap.